Hello, this is Pauline Jennings. Welcome to Musician Talk. My guest today is Northfield High School senior Robby Swenson, also known as Lil Sipde. Robby has had a love for music since early childhood, which led him to be involved in many musical adventures, including the band Beverage Men, Northfield Chamber Choir, All-State Choir, Lemon Water, Northfield High School musicals, including The Dentist and Little Shop of Horrors, and so much more. Recently, he's been creating, producing, recording, and editing original music in his home studio, including the recently completed Lil Sipde on the Track, a friendly and clean rap album. And his studio work continues. He's currently working on a new mixed genre album. In fact, during this interview, you'll be hearing a never until now released original song from this new project. Let's find out more and talk with Robby Swenson. Hi, Robby.
Hi, how's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well.
Good. You know, I have talked to nobody under 30 in these interviews, and the way I started out is to ask about COVID and how it's affected you. And so I'm very interested in finding somebody who's still in school, how the last 6 months have been for you.
Yeah, it's definitely been interesting, especially with the hybrid model, 2 days on, 3 days off, just keeping that motivation for yourself. But honestly, it's given me a lot of time to pursue some new things. And for example, I've been in my studio a lot, and this summer hit, there was nothing to do, no sports teams or no get-togethers. So you can find me down in my basement studio, kind of cooped up, making some beats, which has kind of been fun.
That's great. Well, it's great that you took that time and did something creative with it. And I find that most people I talk to have done something that they normally wouldn't have done or had time to do during this time. So there's the silver lining, I guess, for all of us.
For sure.
So, Robby, you're a senior this year, Northfield
Yes.
High School. Yes. Okay. And you have a very wide-ranging career so far as a musician and as an actor at the school. I mentioned some of those items in the intro. But I want to take you back to when you first started loving music and where music started to become part of your life.
I guess since a kid, my mom's always been, she's a great singer, and she's always been into just singing in the car or singing at the house. And I remember driving all around town listening to Sugarland. There's gotta be something more. So she was kind of my musical inspiration. And then I used to be super into Hannah Montana and all like the singing shows on Disney. And she bought me a Hannah Montana microphone, and I'd sing to all my stuffed animals. And I thought I was the pop star of the century. So
That's great. So how old were you when you were doing that?
probably like 6 or 7-ish.
Oh, do you have videos of it?
I think luckily those ones escaped the videography.
That's probably a good thing. Although it'd be precious. It would be precious to have. So when did you formally start singing, like in a choir?
I was in Northfield Youth Choir. I think I joined in 3rd grade, and I did that up until around middle school. And then I played a little bit of piano back in elementary school, but never really got into that. And then middle school choir, I think, is when I really for sure found like, oh wow, I really like singing and stuff. I guess that's where I really got into it.
So you started playing the piano. Why did you stop?
I wasn't that emotionally connected to it. Like
Interesting.
music and singing, I felt like I could express myself with, and I really felt like I was, I am the instrument. I am projecting my thoughts and feelings into the world. And piano, I'm like, I'm just kind of hitting a piece of wood and it's making noise, but it's not like, it didn't feel like it was my passion.
So when you were in middle school, did you start soloing?
In middle school, I realized, like, when I compared myself to the people around me, like, oh, I got a voice, you know what I mean? And that was kind of fun. And so I started auditioning for more prestigious choirs, like I went to state honor choir 6, 7, 8, and I made it to national honor choir in 8, which was really fun because it was in Minnesota, so I didn't have to like go to Alaska or something.
Sure.
Yeah, so that was when I started like kind of taking more of an independent voice. And then in high school, when solo ensemble came around, like that was probably my first real like solo opportunity. And then also in high school is when I found out like, oh, I can, like, I've listened to all these songs and that's all good and I can sing them and stuff, but I can make my own songs too. Took a couple poetry classes and I'm like, okay, like songs are just poetry. And I'm like, okay. And then I start dinking around on the keys and I'm like, well, this note sounds like that note. And this note can go to here. So maybe I just put these three notes and these three notes and then it sounds kind of fun. So that's when I started writing music and doing more solo stuff
So, how old were you when you started writing music?
2 years ago, 15.
Okay. What inspires you to write music?
Well, at the time it was a lot of girls,
Of course, of
which of
course.
course come out of
And
15-year
and
olds.
that will never end.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong about that, but I think
No.
it's also important to explore different emotions in your songwriting too.
Like what?
Just exploring humor, but also like I think a lot of love songs can be happy and they can be sad. And so tapping more into that sad side is very emotionally freeing because a lot of the times I think it's hard to talk about what you're feeling and talk and put it into words about what you're feeling. But if you can make people feel what you're feeling with you, then I think it's a lot easier for them to understand and empathize with you.
So well said. Do you feel that when you write about your feelings that it helps you process them
For sure. Yeah, for sure.
and make you feel better or not necessarily?
Usually make me feel better. Sometimes maybe get me back into the state of the feeling, which is worse for the moment. But then I think it helps me kind of break down what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling it. And then I think it can like help me move past it.
That is so important. And that's such the one of the beauties of music is that it can do that. And also then when you sing about it and somebody else is feeling that same way, it helps them process it too, I think.
For
Yeah.
sure.
So you just finished an album. Do you still call them albums?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay. So I could keep saying that. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So you just finished an album. What's it called?
So it's called Lil Sipde on the Track.
Little Sipde on the Track. What does that mean?
Yeah, so Lil Sipde is my rap name.
Got it.
And there's because you got to have a rap persona.
Of
You can't
course.
just use
Of
your own
course.
name. Lil Sipde, this is a little bit of a tangent, but it's important for the history of Sipde. Me and my friends sitting in driver's ed, they tell us that you have to Sipde while you drive. It's an acronym: scan, identify, predict, decide, execute. I mean, this is the funniest thing ever to me because no one while they're driving is like consciously thinking like, okay, now I'm in the scan phase and oh, I got to identify, predict, decide, execute, And so me and my friends thought this was so funny. And so, for the longest time, like it was just like a little joke, but then I was in the studio and I was like, what should I be called? And then I was like, it's got to be Little Sifty.
I love it. I love that. I love that explanation. And Little Sipty on the Tracks totally makes sense now. Totally
Yeah.
makes sense. And so you talked about rap, that it's your rap name. So is this a rap album?
Yeah. Yep. This is a rap album. Yep.
Okay. What got you interested in rap music?
I had a kind of a middle school phase where I thought I was going to be super cool and start listening to rap.
Okay.
Um, Rap is so interesting because it can be whatever you want it to be. In rap, I think you can either hit like a serious tone where you're really going for it, or you can like I love to joke about things on my new album, like me and my friend playing pickleball, on one of the tracks and stuff like that. And so you can have a humorous tone. Also, I think it's a lot of fun just because it's fun to do, and you're just like, oh, the energy just flows out of you.
I can see the exuberance that you have for this music, and that is lovely. And so let's go ahead and set up this first song. It's called Fictitious Flexing, and I'm curious about the title. Where was your inspiration for the song? What gave you the idea and what it's about?
So, fictitious flexing. I originally made the beat to rap with a local rap star in Northfield who sadly turned down their request. But
Oh.
all is good because I have one of the coolest moms probably out there in the world, young Bisa, as she's known as her rap persona. And so I had these bars at the beginning. My idea for fictitious flexing was to flex on things that nobody should flex on because all these rappers are out here flexing on their money, flexing on their cars, while I'm here flexing on my Pokemon cards or flexing on my $14 up that I am in the stock market. And so I kind of wanted to poke fun at the real rap game, and my mom helps me do that. So fictitious flexing. Here we go.
I love it. We're going to play it. And I tell you, the part with your mother is my favorite. I love it, the breakdown section. So let's take a listen to Robby Swenson and his mother on fictitious flexing.
Lil Sipde on a track, and I'm flexing on it right now, straight out the gate. Old Sipde didn't flex, but he went at my grade. New Sipde make you feel like sodium and acetate. Break it down into your pieces while I crush you with my weight. I'm better than you all, I hit the bullseye with the arrow. Then I leave you in the dust when I speed off of my Alero. Gotta get my calcium pills, time frame is narrow. You don't take them, I know, I see it in your bone marrow. Ain't got time for you, gotta check my socks. Now I'm looking at my money building up like sandbox. See how $14 up, going green like detox. See, I'll get nothing from your money in the penalty box. My material items cost more than the shard. Just look at my secret rare Pokemon cards or my iPhone 6S or my lot out in Motley. And don't even get me started on the money. I'm working at Starbucks, y'all working at Culver's. Have fun with them $8.50 an hour. I'm on top of the stack, looking down from my tower and eating the Raider Challenge bread with the flour. Of Tahiti, sriracha. I'm getting green, yeah, matcha. And I'm not stressed out about it. Duh. I'm calm as the Buddhist, they call me Siddhartha. Wait, what? What happened to the beat? I was flowing.
Hi, Robs.
Mom? I'm trying to rap and be cool right now, Mom. Get out of the studio.
You call those bars cool?
Excuse me?
Let me show you how it's done. YOUNGBESA, that's what they call me, now what can you say? Grew up with some shady, the Hammer and Prince. Learned how to rap, that's my evidence. You think you can rap, but really you can't. You talking as much as a well-watered plant. I got flexing down, now listen close dear. These are the sounds that peeps wanna hear. I rolled on the streets in my gold Cadillac you got later, you simp. That's just a fact, 4 houses, 9 lots, 12 units, you see. I'm bigger than life and living carefree. Millionaire, investor, developer too. A teacher, a coach, what about you? I got the stocks, I own Boardwalk. Chicks are gawking, can't get them to stop. See?
Oh gosh, I've got nothing on that.
You gotta up your game, bud.
I guess so.
Here, we got the last verse together. Let's take the song out, right here, right now.
All right, I'll try my best.
Follow my lead. Like mother, like son, your journey's begun. Rap on, honey, it's lots of fun. The sky is the limit, your beats are hitting. Your voice infectious, lyrics so fitting.
I'm better than you, look, I'm rapping with pizza. Your bars seem just as unbalanced as seesaw. My bar's as tight as a 1,000-piece jigsaw. Yeah, our rhymes pressuring you like Dalton's Law.
Ripping it up, shining so bright, lifting the weights and feeling alright.
We're flexing on you fools, we ain't out of fuel. Draining your energy like milking stool.
We hit it in your weak spot.
Winning big jackpot, pot.
Y'all cool, but we still hot.
Now let's end the song and leave them to rot.
You are listening to Musician Talk, hosted by me, Pauline Jennings. You just heard Robby Swenson's song called Fictitious Flexing from his newly released album, Lil Sipde on the track. Completely created and produced by Robby, with some help from his mom, Teresa. Robby, I love this breakdown section, as I said. That's what I call it, when your mom first comes in, where you start kind of just talking, not rapping. And then she starts rapping with you, and then it kind of becomes a little bit of a competition. And it's just lovely. What gave you the idea to do that?
I was just like, well, it'd be fun to rap with my mom, be all like, oh, love you, Mom, love you, Robs, but it'd be so much funnier if she just came in and absolutely flamed me. So that's what I decided to do, because anything as long as it's funny.
Yeah.
Eventually at the end we do come back together, and she teaches me how to rap, and all is well.
That is great. And I love the message too. Even though it's tongue in cheek, it's a little bit poking fun at things that maybe need to be poked fun at. The wealth culture. It is a very, very, very fun song. I want to ask you about the production of it. What are you all doing on this album?
Yeah, so the production has been a lot of fun to learn. And I've never been able to like play an instrument super proficiently, but I've always had this drive, like I want to make music. So I decided I had to start producing, because if I can't play it, I'll just make the program play it for me, and then we'll be okay. And so, I learned, I took a class through Andrew Huang, and I just delved into YouTube tutorials, and, I just started learning the basics, EQing and limiting, and piece by piece, I got a little better at it. And each time you do it, your ear just hears something a little different, or, here's like, oh, I could fix that. Or like, oh, if I just turn the chorus up a little bit here, that's going to make it sound, it's just more satisfying. So I've spent a lot of hours in the studio. I have a lot of fun with it.
What I hear you saying is that the producer in you is guiding the engineer, the sound engineer in you, telling you what to EQ and how to EQ it, and where to make the cuts, where to turn it up, and all those things, where to add this sound and that sound. Now, you said something that I find curious. You said you'll just have the computer make the music for you. You have to have the idea, I believe, of the melody that you want and what sounds you want where. How do you get the computer to make the sounds that you want?
Of course, I got to kind of have that idea first of what I want in my head. Let's take fictitious flexing. I knew I wanted some like bass line that, and so I sorting through the sounds and like, ooh, this sounds kind of cool. And then like basically then I just find like, oh, I want something on top of it. So I found that little pluck, like it just all kind of fits together like puzzle pieces eventually.
And so your digital workstation has sounds that you can go and look in the program for those sounds.
Right. Yeah. And you
Okay.
can like download other sounds like otherwhere, and you can just kind of put them into the little piano roll and make them where you want them. And it just works out.
That's great. And there is so much layering in here. It is a full production, and it's wonderfully done. So nicely done. So before we move on to the next song, I want to ask you some questions about music in your life and the importance of it. I'm curious as to how you think music has changed your life, or how your life would be different if you weren't a musician.
Very different. It'd be a very different life. I always come back to music because it's just fun. And, you know, I think there's so many serious things that you can think about. There's so many math problems you can solve, or there's so many physics formulas you can learn. But music is something you almost don't have to learn. You more just feel, you know, and I have that feeling in me. And so just making it is so natural. Like I don't have to learn how to do it. It's just so natural. So without music, I think I'd have a lot more free time on my hands, but I don't know what I'd be doing with it. And I don't know if I'd be as fulfilled with my life.
Nicely said again. But you do learn, and that's the beauty of it. You just told me you had to sit down for learning how to produce, learning how to do rap on your computer and do all those. So you were learning that whole time and finding ways to teach yourself to do this stuff. My assumption here is that it didn't feel like learning.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with that.
It sounds like this is what you want to do for your life, your life's
Yeah,
work.
definitely looking into different career paths in music.
And what are you thinking? What are some of those paths?
I'm hoping I just hit it big with one of my raps one day, and
Sure.
you know, but you know, I guess if that doesn't work out, we'll have a plan B.
Okay, so what's the
Looking
plan
into
B?
looking into college, maybe for music education, or else honestly looking into production. I think it'd be super interesting, and I think I've, you know, put in some work, and I know how some sounds work, but just getting like a full in-depth class on all the little things and all the different things you can do, that'd be mind-blowing. I think I'm gonna apply to some crazy selective schools, and then if I get into one of those, then I know I got to go into vocal performance, which is pretty risky. But if I get into one of the big boy schools, then I can do it, you know.
So you're talking like Juilliard level?
Right? Yeah, like Juilliard or Curtis or something like that.
But you can do both. You can produce and sing. So there's that.
For sure.
Okay, here's a really big question. What do you think music does for our culture? For, let's just say, in the United States, the culture here in this part of the world?
Yeah, it is a big question. Brings people together in many ways, you know, like, you know, getting out there and going to see a performance. Like I went to a 21 Pilots like concert last year, I think it was, and, you know, pre-COVID. And I was next to all these people who I have never seen in my life. I know nothing about them, but we all know every single word to every single song.
Mm-hmm.
And there's something so powerful about that.
That is cool. So we didn't talk about this earlier, but you were in Little Shop of Horrors as the dentist, and also in Rock and Roll Revival. So you've done some acting. And so is that in any of your plans?
I was thinking about acting in college. And so maybe if I find that I super love it in college, then I'll go on with it. You never know. Keep the door open.
Awesome. Let's get back to the album because I want to get to the second song.
Yeah, so this next song is actually off my next album that I'm working on.
Okay,
and
cool.
I haven't really shared it with many people.
Oh, yay!
This is one of the first, like,
this is a debut.
Yeah,
World
this is a debut.
Nice.
So, you know, of course, still a work in progress, but this is one of the songs I have more done off of my next album, which is all about kind of sharing my story of an eating disorder that I had.
Wow.
It was a very dark time in my life, and and our culture is so surrounded with skinny is good and fat is bad, and I think it's so damaging to so many people, but there's not a lot out there that talks about it. So I wanted to share my story. I thought it was very important, especially as like a young male. I know there's a lot of young females who deal with this kind of stuff, but I thought it would be very important to share my perspective as going through something like this as a young male. And I thought the best way to do it would be through music. So this is about that.
Good for you. And it takes courage for some reason in this culture, I wish it didn't take courage to talk about these things publicly, but it does. And so good for you for doing this and for sharing, because this is exactly the kind of thing that helps others. It exactly is the kind of thing. And if you can talk about it, then maybe somebody who hears your song can talk about it. Thank you. Really, really thank you. Okay, I've listened to this song. It doesn't seem like rap to me. So is this album a conglomeration of genres? Tell me a little about what you're working on.
I was very inspired by the most recent Tyler the Creator album titled Igor. And so, I was fascinated by this album, and I wanted to incorporate the many genre kind of thing like this. And I knew I wanted to sing on a project because I haven't really done that to its full extent yet. And I knew I wanted to throw some rap in there because that's like for the harsh parts that really just dig deep and hit. And so, blended genres, I'd say.
This song, Crime, can you pigeonhole the genre?
Pop-ish.
Rhythm and blues a little bit?
Yeah, I'd say.
Here. So the whole album is going to be about this struggle?
Yeah.
And so this song in particular, why don't you set this up for us and then we'll just take a listen.
A metaphor of this album is I'm trapped inside of a jail cell. Okay. And I'm trying to get out by getting skinnier to fit into society's norms, basically. Mm-hmm. And so that's kind of the overruling plot device. And so in this song, the main hook of the chorus is I'm getting out of here today. The first couple songs are like me contemplating, and this one's like I'm getting out of here. So you better watch out, world. And you can hear my fighting nature and my need for victory. And this song gets a little wild, but I think that really shows what I was feeling at the time when I was feeling this in real life.
Let's take a listen to Crime. And here we go.
Don't hit the brakes. I'm getting shaved. The pain just means my body's healing. Yeah, why?
Well, it seems like you've been angry a lot recently. Irritated, annoyed, sometimes just fed up in general.
Well, I'm fine, okay?
Okay, man, jeez. I just care about you, okay? You can talk to me if you need anything, dude.
Yep.
So nothing's been on your mind these last few days?
I said I'm fine, okay?
You know what, man? I'm done with your If you wanna be like that, you can. I'm out.
Great! I'm getting out of here today. And I'm gonna skip and I don't care what you, 'cause I'm gonna do it on my own way. Yeah, I'm getting out of here today. And I'm gonna skip and I don't care what you, 'cause I'm gonna do it on my own way.
This is Musician Talk, hosted by me, Pauline Jennings, and you just heard Crime, a new original by my guest, Robby Swenson. Again, every part of this song was created, played, and produced by him alone. Well, it's really, really great to hear your singing voice. The groove is great, nicely done. Are you doing all the parts on this song too?
I programmed everything and I sing all the backups and stuff. So yeah.
Wow, that's impressive. So why don't you tell us now a little bit about what groups you're in, where you're playing, where you're singing?
Well, of course, driving live with Beverage Men. What a riot.
Yes. He says, of course, because I produced that. So I know all about it. All right. Yes. And that was wonderful. You guys opened the show and you did a great job.
Yeah, I appreciate that. That was a lot of fun. With winter coming and COVID, I'm not sure if there's going to be too many performance opportunities in my future for live.
If you can do it virtually, it's a great time to be learning tunes so that when COVID finally does lift, you're ready to hit the stage.
Yeah, for sure.
What choirs are you participating in now?
In school, I'm in, of course, the Northfield Concert Choir. And that's been a lot of fun, very interesting practicing with the COVID 12 feet apart. I'm also a leader of BCG this year, along with David Shelby and Hawk and Rustad. And that's been really fun just to kind of take on a leadership position. And we have a Christmas song coming up, prepared for that, with maybe even, well, I guess I can't say anything. You'll have to wait. You'll have to watch. So we're still in the works.
Okay, we'll watch for that. Where can we watch for that kind of thing?
Follow the choir Facebook page, maybe.
Awesome. So I play this game or ask these questions to everybody, and it's best gig, worst gig. Now, you haven't had a lifetime of gigs, but perhaps you have some stories.
Worst gig. And it's not necessarily gig, but it is worst time during gig.
Sure.
Back in middle school, I was in Buttermilk 5, and what a riot that was. Me and four of my friends made a little band. I was the lead singer.
That's great.
And
That's great.
we did this thing where we made up songs on the spot, which with experience, I'm sure you can do it and it'd be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Considering we were 5 middle schoolers, it did not always work to its full extent.
I bet.
The one that sticks out to me is they'd get together and make a little chord progression or something, and then I'd ask the crowd, I need 2 subjects, and I remember the first one was Splatoon, which is this video game I was really into at the time, and Biker Gang. It's hard to combine those 2 ideas, and it was very apparent in my artistic writing on the spot.
On the spot, right.
So kind of crashed and burned a little. Very cringy when I look back on it, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Why wouldn't you trade that for the world?
Just because you gotta have experiences like those to know when you're succeeding.
Awesome. I mean? Exactly. So how about what's your favorite gig that you've done? What filled you with the most joy?
I vividly remember Allstate last year. There was this one song called I See the Heavens Glory Shine by Andrea Ramsey. And just the best thing I've ever sung in my life. Probably my favorite choir song. And what helps is it was with the best choir I've ever sang in. The whole song is masterfully composed, absolutely incredible. But the last note is, it's a note that shouldn't fit in, but you sing it and it's just like,
wonderful.
And so, and I remember during the second performance for our Allstate, I sang that note because it was the last song, and I sang that note, and then I could not speak for the next 5 minutes because my voice was just gone after the whole week, but it was so rewarding, and it was just, I'll never forget it.
Those are great stories. Thank you so much for sharing those. So I want to know where everybody can get your current album and to watch for your next album.
I am currently on Spotify. You can look me up at Robby Swenson, R-O-B-B with a Y. Or you can just look up Lil Sipde on the track. I guarantee there's nobody else named Lil Sipde on the face of this earth. Sipde. Otherwise, I'm on SoundCloud at Robby Swenson. That's where I just post all my new stuff. Check out my latest track, Thebes' Expertise.
Well, that's great. I'm going to watch for you, and I'm going to go listen to the whole album now that I've heard one song off of it. And I want to thank you so much for joining me. What fun I had learning about your journey and getting another perspective that I haven't had on this show. So that was beautiful. Thank you so much, Robby.
Thank you so much, Pauline. This is an excellent show. I think it's really important that we share the music in times like this, and I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
See ya.
And many thanks to Robby Swenson for joining me today for this delightful conversation. And so many, many thanks to you for listening to Musician Talk on the one KYMN. Have a terrific day.